special button. I think we need that in the House of Commons, don't you? To shut people up when they go on. Well, welcome to our December meeting of the Combined Authority. I thought I'd give you a bit of a debrief to begin with. So welcome to the beautiful Grimsby Town Hall. Now, Rob and I's got fond and not so fond memories of this, haven't we, Rob? A few months ago. Now we've got a busy agenda, so please take reports as read, and if we can focus on comments on the decisions we need to make. Officers are here for clarification. Now, if you spotted any grammatical errors, please speak to the report author at the end of the meeting, and then we can focus on the key decisions. Now, since we last met, we've had some good progress. Improved rail services between Lincoln and Nottingham start this month, and constructions began for the 200 million immigration. God, that's a Freudian slip, isn't it? Yeah. I need better glasses, don't I? Yeah. A construction has begun on a £200 million Immingham freight terminal. I need a clap for that, don't I? Yeah. Which will strengthen trade and connectivity, and also shows that Greater Lincolnshire is open for business, with growing interests in our energy, ports, agri-tech, defence and AI. Our chief exec and I continuously engaging on an international basis to promote the county and the businesses and help them grow and invest. Now, just going ahead to next year, watch this space, because we're already talking to some embassies to host their ministry and taking around our agricultural and food sector, because they want to invest in the area. So we will let you know when we go ahead with that. It's some quite exciting moments. Now, since our last meeting, we've also received the news that the government has approved the Tilbridge Solar Farm project in Lincolnshire, which will cover around 3,000 acres of farmland. Now, we've heard strong community concerns about this and other large-scale solar farms imposed without regard for the impact. Now, Lincolnshire's vital for UK energy security, but importantly, it's also the nation's food valley. Now, we support solar on rooftops, car parks and rail tracks, but not on prime agricultural farmland. So at the next meeting, I'm going to be, well, the meeting of the Business and Infrastructure Board, I'm going to bring a future item there regarding this for members to consider in more detail, because I think it's important really as a combined authority, we have a stance on this to make sure that we protect our agricultural sector. Now, finally, before we proceed with the business of the meeting, I met with the Minister for Investment, who Rob and I know very well. He was the Labour candidate. He's now gone off to the Lords. I met with him last week about unlocking Scampton as a defence zone and ensuring we have the skills to support growth in industries such as agtech, energy, ports and logistics and defence and AI. Now, these conversations were extremely positive. He's actually committed to supporting us to unlock this, which is brilliant. So I'll put that on record. So if you're listening, Jason, this is publicly on record. But no, he was, in all seriousness, he was quite excited about proposals with this. So these conversations underline the ambition and opportunity we have as a region, and we will work to capitalise on these opportunities ahead of us and show that we can lead the way in the county. So let's keep our discussions focused and forward-looking as we continue to deliver for Greater Lincolnshire. Before we begin the formal proceedings, I'm proposing to change the order of the agenda, switch items 10 and 11 to allow Lisa to present the report on the Constitution, because that takes a bit longer. So I just want to check if everybody's happy with that. Great, thank you. So number 2, apologies and substitutions. So moving to the first item of business, Emily, do we have any apologies or substitutions?
Thank you, Mayor. We have apologies from Councillor Tweddle, and we also have Councillor Baxter in attendance today as the delegate for Councillor Wright.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I think we've got Councillor Hampton.
Okay. So could we note that? Thank you. Okay. And you was able to cut me out. You must have the special button. Okay. Declarations of interest. Point number 3. Does any member have any interest to declare? Nope. Okay. Now we turn to agenda item 4. We are considering the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of September 2025. These minutes are for agreement only. Now, just a point from this minutes. I know that Councillor Baxter raised some concerns with our monitoring officer, but just rest assured we've had a chat and something will be coming over to you next week on some of the points you raised. A letter's going to come over next week. So I propose that the minutes are approved as a correct record. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ingrid. So all those in favour of those.
Hang on. I've pressed my button. Did I press the wrong button?
Well, it's not showing here. So how do I know if someone's pressed the button? Oh, right. Maybe show your hand because it's not. I've got no way of knowing who's pressed the button. Yeah. Okay.
I beg your pardon and good afternoon. On these minutes, would it be possible to put the venue of the meeting on the minutes so that we can remember the day we went to Grimsby,
Okay.
and the day we went to Lincoln, and hopefully the day we went to Grantham? Secondly, thank you for the note. On resolved at the bottom of page 8, it says that the amendments to the Constitution were approved, we approved the amendments. In September, I wrote to the monitoring officer and asked why the Constitution on the website was the August Constitution, and I was told that officers were working through the amendments and it would be updated as soon as possible. When will that be?
I'll just hand over to the monitoring officer. Oh, right. Monitoring officer said it has been completed and updated.
In that case, the Constitution on the website this morning said August 2025.
Do you want to speak? Want to speak? Yeah.
Has been completed. So
it's an administrative process. They haven't uploaded it, but that's a good point, Councillor Baxter, and we'll make sure that's done, I think, this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we had a seconder, didn't we, Ingrid? Yeah.
Yep.
So show of hands, all those in favour, please. Them against, so no, you haven't got your hand up, have you, Craig? Oh, okay, fine. So those against? No. Any abstentions? Okay. Now, item number 5, we are considering the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of November. I propose that the minutes are approved as a correct record. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Sean. Right, all those in favour? And those against? No. Okay. Any abstentions? Right. Councillor Baxter. Which way did Councillor? Okay. Right. Thank you. So over to agenda item number 6, public questions. We've not received any questions in advance of this meeting. Item number 7, the corporate plan content approval. Now, the Greater Lincolnshire Plan is our bold roadmap for lasting positive change for our communities, and it sets out what we will focus on to make devolution work for Lincolnshire and deliver on our shared vision. Now, this plan reflects extensive engagement. Members have shaped it, setting our ambition and ensuring it drives real benefits. It brings together a wide range of views into one clear vision, putting Lincolnshire people first, supporting businesses to grow, attracting investment and enabling innovation for sustainable growth. At the heart of this plan are the principles that guide everything that we do. I'll just read what these are. We are ambitious for our place, championing Greater Lincolnshire as a region of opportunity, especially against the current national narrative. Our actions drive impactful, purposeful change focused on outcomes that matter. We work in strong, respectful partnerships because collaboration is the key to success. I'm sure we'll all agree with that. We recognise the value of our communities and places, celebrating what makes Lincolnshire unique. We listen actively to residents and businesses, ensuring their voices shape our decisions, and you will hear from some of these today. Now, these principles underpin our priorities themes, which is bolder ambitions, better connected and brighter futures. Together, they define how we will grow our economy, improve connectivity and create opportunities for generations to come. Now, we know that performance matters. We will be held to account for delivering this plan, so we're developing clear indications to measure progress, and these will come back to you at a future meeting for approval. Now, our Chief Operating Officer, Interim Chief Operating Officer, and I has worked extensively on this, and we are driving forward very much a KPI focused, driven environment to ensure value for money. And I mean, I personally would like to see it run like a business, and where every penny is accounted for. And also, we've been looking at the options of, can we use a new AI management targeting system so we can see real-time results of our KPIs at an individual level. So if you're a company, local company out there who specialises in this, please do get in touch, because I think it's quite good to be cutting edge as a combined authority, especially when in our area we've really got a major focus on defence AI and security, and also ag tech, etc. It's important that we embrace AI. So our engagement hasn't stopped with politicians. We've worked with business leaders who have contributed through our economic advisory panel. I'd like to thank Alison as chair, and she'll share her reflections shortly. So I propose to move the recommendations on page 23 of the report pack. Do I have a seconder? Sure, thank you. And before I invite speakers on the report, I'd like to invite Andy Quarmby to present the comments from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. The committee considered the report on the 5th of November. So over to you, Andy. Thank you. Yes.
Take the points in reverse order based on your comments earlier about the concerns about food security. Concerns were raised that Lincolnshire was becoming a infrastructure conduit. Absolutely. For infrastructure at the expense of food security. We did ask from the committee that the wording would strengthen issues regarding priorities, and we did at length query how we would address the people that were economically inactive. Queries regarding the process pipelines were asked, especially as regards infrastructure and housing development. There was an explanation as to how that was happening, and it was noted that a full-time housing officer had been recruited. And then the final point was that, as you mentioned just a minute ago, broader engagement, especially from the non-constituent parties.
No, that's great. Thank you, Andy. And I mean, regarding reaching those who and not contributing economically, etc., we've already got Claire working on a Get Lincolnshire working plan. So this will be brought to the combined authority at a later date. So we are on with this. Now, I'd like to invite Alison to present, Alison Hans, but I'd also like to inform you, one of my manifesto commitments was to deliver a Greater Lincolnshire Business Association. And I'm pleased to announce that in the spring, we're going to have it 3 times a year, a conference which moves around the county. So we'll make sure that all areas are covered. Plus, we'll have our growth and great exhibition as well. So it'll be 4 events per year for businesses. Now, it'll obviously be networking opportunities, but it'll also we're speaking to government to, they're very keen to get involved on a level to have officials there and have a speaker from the business department to be able to hear from businesses directly. So that should be good. We don't want a talking shop. We want it to be worthwhile for businesses. And I'd also like to see an element of this where we invite like pension funds, investors, and who can give businesses that support to move them to that next level in their business journey. So over to you then, please, Alison, to present feedback from the Economic Advisory Panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I think the first thing to really say is that the plan has evolved through the feedback. So from the feedback that was done previously through the Economic Advisory Panel, it has evolved. And I think that's really positive because it's a demonstration of continual learning, which I think was really positive. I think the other thing that was really positive is all voices have been heard. And again, that is extremely important. It's clear in its articulation. I know that there was a very big drive to make sure that it was clear English, and it's clear in an articulation and in its priorities. It supports key industries where we can grow and innovate, and that's what's really important for Greater Lincolnshire. So we're all very positive about that. But I think one of the things that's really important about this report is, and this plan, it is equally clear on the challenges that we must overcome. And there is absolutely no point running ahead if we're not clear on those. So on behalf of the EAP, I really want to endorse the commitment to not only how we plan to work, but how we measure our success. I'm really pleased to hear you talk about that, Mayor, around utilising the same types of KPIs that would be in business so that we can measure success. We can measure success as we go. And also it's short and long term. Yes. Too much sometimes it can be all in the short term. Absolutely. And therefore not driving for the long term. So it's really important. So we are extremely supportive of this plan. So thank you very much.
That's really great, actually, Alison, to know that, you know, the economic advisory, the business community, for your feedback is supporting this. And I welcome that you believe also that we need to have that business approach to the combined authority. Okay, thank you. So are there any members who wish to speak on this report? If you can just raise your hands, because I don't get any notification who is. Right. First of all, Sean, then Councillor Baxter. Thank you. And then.
Thank you, Mayor. It's just, Alison's pretty much summed up what I was going to say, but I'd like to thank the team that put it together, put the work together. It's an enormous piece of work that was needed for the first time. Not many people will have ever had to work from a blank piece of paper for something like this. It's also quite useful for me because following on from that, I then started writing or helping to write the Lincolnshire one, so I had a bit of insight to it. But Alison's absolutely right. Feedback was enacted upon, and that's really important, I think, because without that, it would appear that the mayoral's team was just cracking on doing what they thought was best. Whereas the way that this has developed and has grown into a great piece of work proves that it's a collaboration between us all, and I think it's a credit. And I'm glad to have some small part in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo what you say about the process. When I attended the workshop, you won't be surprised to hear that I was complaining about the jargon and the lack of plain English, which is much better now. I wouldn't say the jargon's gone completely, but it's much.
I'd agree with you with that. I don't like jargon either. Yeah,
much better. With regard to the ambitions, the trouble with this is always you've got to try and frame it in a Lincolnshire context. So if you take a sentence out of here, does it work for Lincolnshire? Yes. Better than it works for Shropshire or Wiltshire or wherever else? And I think it's a pass on that. It's quite good on that. In terms of the KPIs that you mentioned, when are they coming? Because I know that Mr. Sederfield's comments talk also about clear milestones. Yes. But I can't see the KPIs within the document. No. So when will they arrive? And finally, under bolder ambitions, it says that devolution is to make Greater Lincolnshire a better place to live, work and visit, which is almost flattery in that that's been South Stephen's corporate
Yes.
line for years. So I'm glad that you've picked that one up.
Thank you, Ashley. Look, regarding your question, the constituent leaders and I are going to be sitting down to discuss the KPIs in January. But what we're waiting for actually is the 4 main positions, which allows us to function. You know, at the moment we've got an interim team, so we want to get them on board and in place. This is why the political side will be looking at this first. In January, we are starting the formal, well, it started already, the formal recruitment process. We are doing the interviews in January. And so we're going to be looking towards the end of February, where we'll start bringing something for you to have a look at and feed into. Thank you.
Well, I mean, just to echo the points that have been made around having a really positive culture around the creation of the plan. I can actively say, as Councillor Matthews has, we were heavily consulted. We looked at the narrative, and I know Caroline did a lot of work to try and capture our views if we couldn't make the sessions. And in truth, I think that was very comforting in terms of being in that co-created space, so we can design something that we can all back, but more importantly, things that we know will deliver, because that's what we're here for. We're not here for the chat, are we? We're here exactly for the impact. Clearly, there will be a need to work and those steps to implementation, because we're all going to be chasing improvement. There's no, I know you've been clear on this, but we all, having gone through the process of the pain of negotiating devolution, we don't want it to be meaningless. We want to make sure that it actually has a purpose and people can see at the end of it, having made the case through an election, was there a purpose to having a mayor? Is it going to make a difference as a role, but also as a combined authority, you're going to contribute towards that? So clearly the devil will be in the detail, but I think the fact that we're all connected to that will make sure that we can make a difference. As always, these things, you've got to make sure you've got representation. We have an area that has a lot of heavy industry that is heavily under pressure at the moment because of rising energy costs and the instability around that. So, some of those things are things that national government will need to move on, and they're not going to be fixed by turning over good agricultural land and putting a load of stupid solar panels on there, maybe Chinese steel. What we should be doing is concentrating on the heavy industry that we have here and sustaining it. Now, I don't know if the future of that looks like carbon capture. I think it probably just looks like more competitive energy costs. So I think, the role of the plan here needs to make sure we're holding government to account on their desire to deliver. So there will be things that we want an ambition for, but there are things we will need to keep very clearly cited on for government to make sure that they're tackling some of those, particularly in the steel industry, which is the heart of Scunthorpe and many other sectors that are heavily under pressure with this. So, other than that, just the final point really on housing, which clearly is it's not only important for people to have a home, but it's also incredibly important that we have a construction sector that does a good job and adds value to our local economy as well. So, we've made a commitment around veterans housing, we've made a commitment around older people's housing and homes for the young. So clearly in the KPIs, we need to make sure there are some very targeted responses to make sure we do meet the needs of what I'd consider probably some of our most vulnerable residents. Because we've got a growing older population, and we've probably got the largest growing population of any other county in the country. So it says a lot about why people want to come and live here, but we don't want them to be not seen as part of the future implementation of this plan. But other than that, just to say thank you for the work for everybody who's done.
Right, thank you, Rob. I'll just answer some of those points. Regarding the implementation, I agree that's the key. We've seen the process of local government is far slower than in business, very frustratingly. But I think what's held it up actually is it's a brand new authority. We didn't have the team. You're talking our chief operating officer and director was writing job descriptions, etc. We're talking every level they've been having to get involved with. So I'd like to thank them for all their work on that. They've literally been working all hours God sends on this. So once we've got the core team in place, then what I want to put together is an implementation plan. I've used that in business. Timescales. This is in the short, medium, and long term what we aim to deliver these, because that's the only way that you keep on track. And regarding housing, yep, I completely agree. This is one reason I've been at the mayoral councils. I am quite strident, and with the other mayors when we meet, Starmer, etc., the Prime Minister, etc. And what I would like to do, we've already been consulting. I mean, Ingrid, my deputy, is our housing lead on this, but we've already been consulting with Homes England. You'll see next year we were bringing a list of prime sites for development. But in addition to this, we are also working on some research, solid research on having a new town and the potential locations. Obviously, this is going to be very sensitive because we don't want land value going up and it costing the taxpayer more, etc. But it's actually a private investment I'm going to look at with this. But when you, just on a side note, if you're on the government's list for a new town, that's not classed as the housing targets in your local authorities, which I think is wrong. So what I aim to do, I mean, I've been speaking with government, etc., for months on this. If we do deliver a new town, which I would like to see that, then I would like to see those pressures relieved off the districts, because we've seen it should always be infrastructure before expansion. So I think for us to deliver in that area, we've got to do some kind of deal to relieve the pressures elsewhere. Regarding being allowed a voice in the mayoral council, the current budget, some good news. I've been banging on for months how consecutive governments, and I've said it, in our meetings, have always focused on the urban lens, and we need that rural lens. And I'm pleased to announce that we are getting an extra £52 million of investment between 26 and 2030, which is great news. So this will come into our implementation and corporate plan on what we're going to spend this extra funds on. So right, so then it was Nick.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just following up on that theme, really. It's a really good high-level plan. Absolutely no issues with that at all. And as both Rob and yourself have alluded to, the key bit will be the delivery plan.
Absolutely.
And for me, it would be useful maybe at our next meeting, maybe to have some timelines for when that is coming forward.
I think the meeting after that, to start showing the implementation plan. I want the core officers in place first because I want them to be on that journey. So I'd suggest the meeting after that.
Yeah, that's fine. And then probably aligning those KPIs with that. And I guess the other thing I was going to ask is just what the process is for those KPIs, who that's going to be reported back through. I'm assuming the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, but it may come here.
You're right. It'd be the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Yeah, right.
Thank you, Chair. I think the journey that we've been on to get to this point has actually been over a long period of time, and I'm very pleased as a district, although non-constituent representative on this, I'm very pleased that we are part of this in such a presence, because we are a rich tapestry of places that need to be woven together with many different challenges. And I think this has a great opportunity for recognising those challenges and actually dealing with them. So I wish it Godspeed, and hopefully we can all be an integral part of it. So as Nick says, the action plans that need to drive this will be very important.
No, absolutely. And I agree. I mean, you're there at the coalface, aren't you? And on a micro level, we've at the Mayoralty Combined Authority, it's a lot of the big strategic decisions and planning. It's got to work with delivery, and it affects districts as well as the county, doesn't it? So I believe that collaborative approach is vital. Okay, so I'll now move to the vote. Now, constituent council members and non-constituent council members get their votes. including their substitutes and delegates. So all those in favour, please. Unanimous, thank you. That's a good sign, isn't it? Yeah. I think helping with the consultation, wider consulting helps with that. Okay, point number 9, the GLCCA draft medium-term financial plan. The report sets out the draft budget for 2026 and 27 and the accompanying medium-term financial plan. It also brings forward Q2 results and anticipated outturn for 25 and 26. There's still some change in the budget arrangements, as I've already discussed. Oh. Have I missed an item? Oh, right, well done. Is that on here then? Oh gosh, yes, thank you. That's me trying to rush everybody, isn't it? Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, number 8. So devolution of the Adult Skills Fund. Skills is an area I'm passionate about. Having worked in education myself, I've run a think tank and was briefly in government as a skills minister. Now, the report is in front of members today in the next steps of bringing responsibility for Adult Skills Fund to Lincolnshire. We've already received positive feedback from officials on the work we've done so far, and we'll be sending further information over to ministers by the end of December to assure them that we are ready to take on the legal responsibilities that accompany this fund. Now, this includes setting out the ASF strategic skills plan, ambitions and priorities. Bringing responsibility for the funding to Greater Lincolnshire gives us the ability to tailor it more to local needs and help residents into work or to progress into better jobs, which is the key thing here. We will continue to work with stakeholders as the work progresses. Now, at the recent Employment and Skills Board in October, members endorsed a set of changes to funding rules as set out within the report. For items relating to the removal of funding, the authority is currently consulting with key stakeholders on proposed changes to English for speakers of other languages, ESOL and residency rules. Now, final decisions on these items will come back to the authority to consider in February 2026. I think it says 2025 in the report, so there's a slight error there. But I mean, I'll just give you briefly, I've put it on record anyway. My whole passion behind this is, I think it's a stain actually on our history of England, actually, that we have 6.6 million adults who are classed as illiterate, and we are not giving them a bright future if we continue doing the same old. We've got to do things differently. This is why I want to, we're not removing funds, we are directing funds, so it's literacy focused. Now, we've had legal advice which donates that we're able to make these changes. However, consultations are key. So I would say on any members with this, we will be consulting. It's going live the next couple of days if you want to consult as an individual as well. So please do engage with that. So I propose to move the recommendations on page 53, the report back. Do I have a seconder? I'll do Rob because he's chairman of this. Yeah. So
Chair, just before we go to the vote, can I just make a comment on the consultation?
Yes.
Because I think that has to be really meaningful. You'll probably be aware that we've been lobbied by the Federation of Lincolnshire Colleges about the concerns about the removal of the ESOL direct funding. And I think that's something that needs to be very carefully considered, because the people that looks to support want to contribute to our society and want to contribute to our economy. So can we have some assurance that the colleges will have a full and impactful part in the consultation and their concerns will be listened to? Because I think the ESOL is not just a straight issue of teaching, it's also about social education and integration, which is part of where we want to see people coming to this country fully integrating and being part of this society that then can contribute to our GDP. So it's just a request and an earnest request to ask that this consultation is taken notice of and is meaningful.
It'd be taken notice of, but obviously the final decision rests with the combined authority, but we are fully consulting, and it will not only be our colleges, but private sector institutions who also train people, and the wider public as well. So we are having a full consultation. But as I said previously, if people come to this country, if I was going to another country, everybody has a mobile phone, even people who come across on boats. There are a number of free apps. There is charities there for refugees to help with English. But my whole thing is we are neglecting the British people by not giving them the opportunity to have basic literacy. So that's but as I said, it's going live in the next 2 days. If anybody who's passionate about this, please do fill in all the details. Okay, so Ashley Baxter. Okay, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. On the face of it, I think you're making a big mistake, but I can feed that through the consultation. On page 63, it talks about teaching ESOL and meeting the needs of non-English speaking residents through other provision and not ESOL courses. What would be that other provision? Is that the charities and faith groups that you talk about? So kind of moving it away from the public sector into the third sector and relying on the goodwill of other people within Lincolnshire to do that. If you're an organisation like Bacavor or any of the other many organisations in Lincolnshire that do have a high number of people from overseas who have come to the country to support our objectives of farm security and what have you, then we should make them welcome. And obviously,
we need to make sure that the businesses are consulted as well. Yeah, it's open to everybody, definitely.
Yeah, and so we should be supporting business by supporting the needs of people in Lincolnshire, which includes people who don't speak English as a first language. You've got umpteen pages of negative impacts at the back of the report on page 112, among others, and it talks about the review of self-directed. It's quite clear that the review of self-directed online learning after year one may disadvantage non-English speakers, particularly those with low digital skills and so on. I mean, when you mentioned that there are apps to learn a language, I challenge you to find anyone that has learned a language only by using apps.
Well, my 8-year-old son, yes.
So your 8-year-old son, is he fluent? What's he fluent in?
Oh, in French. He's been learning French. Yeah.
He's done that entirely by an app.
Yeah, an app. There's some amazing apps now. I don't know if you're very technical, but there's some amazing apps. I'd recommend them.
Well, I'm married to a language teacher, and if it was that easy,
should have declared that as an interest. Joking, by the way.
If it was, yeah. So what you're effectively saying is that we don't need language teachers, and we don't need. I mean, you can do a whole lot.
Actually, Councillor Baxter, I think you're putting words in my mouth. What I'm saying is I've got my views, but I'm doing the right thing. We are consulting. We are legally sound to make these changes, but we are doing a full consultation. Now, I'm not going to give you any further details because we need to consult and we're doing a consultation. So I'll move on to Councillor Waltham now.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Look, I think there's several things here, and I used to teach in FE, so I've seen and I've spoken to practitioners who work exactly in this case. So the key to this is all around, for me, inclusivity. It's not a tokenism. We should always make sure that whatever we offer enables everybody to access the best of the learning that is available. So ESOL does sectorise, it manipulates people into one level of learning only to consider oral skills, basically, which is effectively what that is. I'm not saying that we don't need to be able to do that, but my view is people do need to be able to read and write English if they're going to effectively work in this country, live in this country, and also for many of them that have families that grow up into this country, they want to be able to teach and learn their children what they actually want to to be good citizens, and also to be able to help them with their homework and all the other things. We have in Scunthorpe a school in which 16 languages are spoken. As I know in other areas of the county, you will have exactly the same. So rather than pigeonhole people into only having English as a second language, why do we embrace them as saying English as your first language in the country that is your chosen place of location? So what we want to do is to be permanently evolving the literacy programme. I mean, many people that come in on a level 1. So it's ESOL level 1 and to ESOL level 2. So there's an opportunity here to get people to read, write and have good oratory as well at level 1, and then to grow them through their literacy journey. The second point that I want to make is absolutely it's good that we're going to consult on this, because it's fair that everybody gets to have their say. But if we're going to make sure we have an inclusive system for literacy that does tackle some of the 6 million people that you quite rightly say have been failed by the education system, because nobody can think it's a good idea that we've got 6 million people in this country, many of which are from this country and have them as the country of birth, and other people coming into.
And they're economically inactive as well.
Or not achieving their full potential, which is even worse, isn't it? So people who are contributing towards the well-being, but living in poverty because they don't have the skills. So if you have an inclusive system that creates opportunities for everybody in that space to be able to develop every element of their English skill set, then you've got a better chance for not only to have an education system that meets their needs, but also you get an opportunity for employers to be able to work with each of those individual residents to have a better life and secure the jobs that they need. So I think as all too often, and it is a public sector challenge, I have to say, is we spend a lot of time defending the past like it's been a success. But if 6 million people have been failed by the system that was the past, how the hell can we expect that ever to change if the numbers are growing? So sometimes you have to be bold with policy and seek to improve, make it,
and lead the way, isn't it?
Well, you have to purposefully improve it, or you have to say it's your job to just accept that people will keep being failed and they won't have the skills to get access to the jobs that we're narrating as business opportunities in a corporate plan we all unanimously adopted today, which we can't afford to happen, can we? Because we won't have people there to be able to access those skills. So for me, I think I absolutely welcome the consultation. We should listen to people. But what I would say is we need to set a challenge to educators to think about how they can access the best of the curriculums to make sure they meet the needs of inclusive literacy. It is not enough to say that someone can speak English. We need to make sure that they have good spoken English, and at the same time, and this also has an impact right across our public services, because we see in children's social care, in adult social care, and I'm sure the police, and in many of these, where we're having to use, translators, because people clearly need to have access to, the support that they need and the criminal justice system to meet the fairness, irrespective of what the Justice Secretary is trying to lead us into. They need to be able to have access to it. And what better gift could we have through the education system for them to be able to speak the language, to defend themselves and to represent themselves effectively, rather than having to rely solely on a parroted version of their mother tongue that somebody gets to comment. I do feel quite passionate about it, so I thank you. I appreciate your indulgence on that, but I do think it's a point that we have to make.
And on your point, actually, Rob, about what's been happening in the past has been actually failing 6.6 million people. We've had other combined authorities and councils already contact ourselves. They're watching this space. They want to see and try things differently. So I think this is an opportunity to actually lead the way and make sure that, we have an amazing literacy rate in Lincolnshire. That's what I'd love to see. Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. there's something I would like, on behalf of Lincolnshire as mayor, for you to consider taking up with other mayors around the country, which is, we know that one of the largest cohorts of people that have got very low or non-existent literacy and indeed numeracy skills end up in prison. And yes. Lincoln Prison is no different from that, but actually people from Lincolnshire and Greater Lincolnshire can end up in prisons across the country, but the East Midlands in particular, and the East Midlands will be the region with the largest number of prisoners of anywhere in the country very shortly. And this is a significant problem. And so the cohort you're talking about are there. Yes. But what we've seen is the current government reduce the education budget in prisons by about 40%. And that's having a massive detrimental impact on Lincoln Prison, their ability to actually lift people out of that area of not having basic numeracy and literacy skills, which is a massive barrier to trying to turn their lives around, make them positive citizens in our county. So what I would love— I can
feed something back what we're already doing, if that helps.
Yeah, and if the mayors can work together to actually highlight the need to invest at a government level in prison education, because these are people coming back out into our communities.
I agree.
We are then talking about investing public money in giving them numeracy and literacy. Frankly, it's something government should be doing while people are in prison. So I think that would be a really helpful.
That's a really good point, Mike, actually. But we're going one step further. We propose to in the combined authority. When I was an MP, I did a lot of work on restorative justice. I believe in being the strong stick, but we also need to support those, because as you mentioned, a high proportion are care leavers who end up in prison who haven't got basic literacy and numeracy, and that is the state system letting them down that they get into that stage. And white working class boys more likely to end up in prison, more likely to commit suicide. So what I did a lot of work in this in Parliament, and we are in consultation with other organisations at the moment who have worked with prisoners to break that cycle of crime, to actually get them back into the workplace. We're even looking at that scheme to get prisoners building homes as well, but not also just a building homes scheme. It is to work with this organisation or one of something similar to help find people jobs, because ultimately if we can get them into work, they're less likely to end up back in prison and cause problems on the streets. So, Nick, then, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think firstly, acknowledging your passion for this area, and it is a big area, really important for the county area. But I think we have to, whilst there's a lot of skills providers out there around, the colleges nevertheless are going to be quite an integral part of the wider skills agenda in the future. So there's a couple of concerns for me, and maybe you can clarify this, because I'm not sure whether the colleges are represented on the Education and Skills Board. I thought they were, but I'm not certain. That's one thing, and the other one is the people being aware of the financial implication of the way colleges are run. They get graded on their financial sustainability, and I'm just concerned around the impact this might have. And so, well,
hopefully I can be rest assured actually on this, Nick, because the consultation questions that got signed off by Rob and I, because Rob chairs the committee, it does have a box in there to list your impact on your institution. So, but for me, if colleges don't want to deliver, if we do go down that route of literacy, then that's got to be filled by someone, whether that's the private sector or a college institution. So, if we do go down that route, we need people to think outside the box. And some of the questioning does also allow them to put their views forward on how, if we do go down that route, how could they deliver it in a positive way, which makes a difference and has good results. Right. Now, I'm not going to bring you back in, Councillor Baxter, because I think we need to move on. We'll come to. Well, it's not about free speech. It's a consultation, and we've spent a long time on this, and I think we need to move on. Look, I'd say, Councillor. No, but he's the chair. He's the chair of the committee now, and I'm the chair of this. Look, I'm sorry, but the answer is no. Now we're going to move on quickly, and it's not lack of democracy. And no doubt you've got an audience, and we've got one of your reporters here who you got on very well with. So excuse me, Councillor Baxter, I'll cut you off in a second. Now, what I'm saying is it's not lack of democracy because we are consulting as I've said numerous times, Councillor Baxter, and you have got a vested interest because of your wife in this role. I can understand your passion for this. You and your wife can consult. You and your wife can consult. Now I move. Stan, excuse me, I might have to ask you to leave if you do not stop. Now, sorry, yeah.
It's Richard Hannigan, Madam.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I'll be honest with you. This debate hasn't gone how I expected it to go.
Yes.
Because so frequently we hear employers talking about the further education system, in particular, failing them in that they don't deliver the skills that are needed for specific roles.
Yes.
Now, I think that the further education system actually does work extremely well with industry, providing those technical skills. And I think that in-house training is absolutely critical. But none of it works without key functional skills. And communication is the absolute most important functional skill. And it is really refreshing to hear that we're talking about doing it differently and doing it in a much more inclusive manner. And all I can say is that I fully support that much more inclusive view.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hannigan. Right, thank you. So I propose to move the recommendations on page 53 of the report. Oh, yes, sorry, yeah. But it says I do that first and then move over to here. It says in the notes. On page 53, do I have a seconded? Then it says move to Andy. Okay, right, so Councillor Walton seconded. Okay. Right, so over to Andy again to present the comments from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Yes.
Mr. Peter. The comments around the table mirror a lot of what was discussed at the Scrutiny Committee. I think the only things to add to that was that the consultation should identify skills gaps so they could be filled by that consultation, and that there should be an emphasis on trying to utilise training providers from inside the combined authorities area. And there was a special emphasis upon ensuring that the non-English speakers did get inclusive training to make sure that they could fulfil the requirements that society wants of them. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. I mean, I'd probably recommend, Andy, you're chairing the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. How about we get a note out to your members to also fill in the online consultation form? It might be very useful to get that feedback, and also the EA as well, Alison. So from the business perspective, so they directly contribute. Okay, so we now move to vote. Constituent council members and non-constituent council members, or their substitutes and delegates only. So all those in favour, please. If you keep your hands up, please. Okay. Those against, please. And any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Thank you. Result. So 8 for, 1 against and 2 abstentions. So that's carried. Thank you. Right. Right, so item 9, the medium-term financial plan. It's a deja vu moment because I'd skipped to this earlier. The report sets out the draft budget for 26-27 and the accompanying medium-term financial plan. It also brings forward the Q2 results and anticipated outturn for 25-26. There's still some change in the budget arrangements for the authority. We are waiting for the government to confirm final allocations to the authority, including any future transition funding or core funding. The budget will also be updated to reflect the latest budget announcements, as I mentioned, the receiving 52 million of investment between 26 and 30. So I propose to move the recommendations as set out on page 123. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ingrid. Are there any members who wish to speak on the budget? Councillor Baxter.
Very kind of you. In the paragraph 3, it talks about noting the Treasury Management Report for Q2. Where do I find that?
Thank you. I'll hand over to Debbie.
Thank you. That was that we can forward that to you. I think we presented it as part of the overview and scrutiny, but certainly we can let you have that. There's an extract in the paper for the Q2 overview. It should be on page, where are we? It's a couple of graphs. On page, where are we? Page 128 of the pack.
Anybody else? Oh, have you not finished?
Thank you. I struggle to read the bits on page 128. Are you saying that it's been presented to the audit committee already? And also, in terms of the investment of assets, is there somewhere I can find a list of where we are investing our financial reserves, if we have them, or are they lumped in with one of the constituent authorities? Do we have our own reserves? Where are those reserves being invested?
So yes, the reserves are held by North East Links Treasury. So yes, so they're managing those on our behalf using the funds that they invest in, which are the low risk ones, as you'd expect. Yes, so we could bring further detail if that's required by members.
Thank you for that. Do we have a low risk appetite, or would we prefer better returns? That's an open question.
I think it's always got to be a mixture of both, actually, don't you? We've got a bold ambition, so we've got to be prepared to invest, but at the same time, we've got to be frugal and save with taxpayers' money. So I don't think that's a one-fits-all answer that we can give, really. Right, Councillor Waltham.
Well, just to say that I think the report is very prudent, and I think that's exactly what we need to have at this time. Clearly, we've got an ambitious programme through the corporate plan, so we're rolling over spend because, as you've already acknowledged, Mayor, you've got people to get into places. Yes. And I think there's the other part of the delivery plan is clearly making sure that each constituent body knows what bit that they can contribute.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Clearly we can deliver sometimes quicker without the profit,
yeah,
which is a fact, that somebody else wouldn't get. And I think that includes the districts, because we're all going to go through a long period of uncertainty through LGR. But I do think that, there is an opportunity to work really closely with districts on that and other constituent bodies. But just to reaffirm the point that actually I think there's some genuine prudence in there, but we've also got some money that we're holding pending a load of things happening, which means we can do a lot quite quickly.
I agree, consultation, and if we can also get districts to deliver on all the counties, then brilliant. Okay, so we'll now move to vote. It's only the mayor and the constituent members or their substitutes that will vote on this item. So all those in favour, please. Unanimous, thank you. Right, this is where we swap it over, isn't it? 10 and 11, what's in the appointment statutory office? Yeah, so This is where we agreed to swap it over at the beginning, so our monitoring officer can speak a bit longer at the end. So we'll move on to review of the authority's constitution. Now, this report considers a number of amendments to the authority's constitution. It establishes the Transport for Greater Lincolnshire Advisory Group and agrees the terms of reference, as well as notes on the proposed plan for an ongoing review of the constitution. The report brings forward feedback from members of our boards to ensure that we can operate effectively and adjust our approach in response to the practical application of the constitution. Now, for example, regarding the Transport for Greater Lincolnshire, what the advisory group recommends, this will also be scrutinised because it'll go through the committee, which is chaired by one of our constituent authorities. So it will get that scrutiny. So I propose to move the recommendations as set out on page 143 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder? All right, we'll go for you this time, Stan. Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak on this? Stan.
Yeah, may I thank officers for producing the relevant part of this paper as a markup, so we can see what's being changed. The changes are really minor in the majority of cases, and self-evident, and therefore I have no problem in supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. Recommendation 3 says that we are to note the proposed plan for the ongoing review of the Constitution. Where is this proposed plan?
It's page 1.
Okay, page 145 in the main document. Okay, but the date needs to be changed so it goes to audit in February.
That doesn't make sense. That's not a proposed plan.
Right, I'm going to hand over to the monitoring officer to explain.
On page 144 and 145 of your document pack, it sets out the proposed review that we intended to take and do intend to take in relation to the ongoing review of the Constitution. So you'll note on page 144 and the top of 145 is things that we have completed, things that we're looking at today, and then the last 2 items of the box are elements that we still intend to look at. What I will accept is that on the last line of the table, the dates are slightly out in that it should be going to Audit Committee on the 4th of February, coming back to the authority on the 25th of February. So in relation to the next things that we are actively looking at, it's introducing a member officer protocol and also the scheme of delegation. And that is in addition to the ongoing dynamic changes that we're doing to the Constitution as and when they are raised either by the boards or members or whether they're found internally by officers.
Thank you. I think that's enough. We'll move on to vote now. So all those in favour? Oh, sorry, all members are entitled to vote. So. Right. Any abstentions? 1. So Baxter. And any against? So 10 in favour, 1 abstention. That's carried. So the appointment of statutory officers. As members know, the authority is required to have a number of statutory roles in place. Whilst we recruit our permanent team, we are looking to appoint 2 interim officers to support the authority. As again, I'll echo that these are statutory that we need to be able to function legally as a combined authority. Firstly, we are seeking to appoint Catherine Whitehead as the interim monitoring officer. I'd like to also thank Lisa because she leaves us today, don't you, Lisa? Yeah, so thank you for your hard work up to this point. Catherine is an experienced director of legal and democratic services with over 20 years experience across a wide range of different local authorities. She's been involved directly in setting up a new authority and ensuring robust governance and arrangements are in place. So Catherine will replace Lisa as the interim monitoring officer. And Lisa will be returning back to a substantive post within Lincolnshire County Council, which I think you're relieved, aren't you, Lisa? It's been a juggling act for her. And as I said, I'd like to place on record my thanks to Lisa for all her support in the operation of the Combined Authority. We're also seeking to appoint Michael Carr as the interim statutory scrutiny officer for the Combined Authority. Michael brings a wealth of experience to the role and will work with members to ensure effective governance, which is obviously another key role. So I propose to move these recommendations as set out on page 139 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Yeah, we go to speakers then. Right. Right. Thank you, Philip. Right. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. I recognise that if we don't vote to appoint Catherine Whitehead as the interim monitoring officer, I think that would mean that we were acting illegally because we wouldn't have filled the posts.
Absolutely.
However, I can't vote for this. Where are the job descriptions for these posts? Where are the CVs of the candidates? I mean, I don't know Catherine Whitehead or Michael Carr. I'm sure they're lovely people, but I don't know anything about them other than being able to find one of them on Google. What is their experience? What has been the process? At the last extraordinary meeting of this board, we said that there should be 4 people involved in a process. In this process, there's been 2 people involved in the process, and we haven't had any feedback from either of them. There's nothing in the paper about the people other than to say they bring a wealth of experience.
Yes.
Well, I need more than that. How long are they being appointed for? I think you answered that earlier on, in that it goes into the recruitment process has started. And also, in the interest of transparency and openness, what will be the daily rate for these 2 people?
Okay. I mean, I will hand over to Lee to answer these questions, but first of all, I'd say, yes, in ordinary circumstances, you know, we will ensure that you get to, well, the appointments panel gets to work with these, and the chief exec works with this as well. But it's time of the essence. Lisa leaves today. We cannot hold up the progress by having to take things through the full Combined Authority for the sake of what could be a month to 5 or 6 weeks, somebody holding the post of these statutory roles to keep us legal until we recruit. I mean, the recruitment process, it's advertised this week. We're interviewing in January. So this is a reason. I'll hand over to Lena.
Thank you. So I'll provide you with the details of Catherine Whitehead, and I'll let Lisa talk about the scrutiny officer role. You've asked what experience the candidates have had. So I was going to explain what experience Catherine Whitehead has that would make her suitable for the post. So in response to the question that you've asked. So Catherine is an experienced director of legal and democratic services. So she's got over 20 years experience as a monitoring officer. She's worked in unitary, county and district authorities, including working through local government reorganisation in Northamptonshire, where she was instrumental in setting up the organisation. So she worked at West Northants Council. So that brings forward a load of experience that's really helpful to us in terms of establishing the organisation, getting the constitution fit for purpose, making sure that the foundations of the organisation are well built. So she's worked at senior and executive level for a number of years across a number of settings, and we believe that experience plays well into the needs of the organisation at this point in time. So we have the full CV of her. I haven't got the day rate in front of me, but I'm happy to confirm the day rate in writing to you afterwards.
Right, I think we need to move on. There's 3 people waiting. So Stan.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, as members of this committee, we are entitled to receive advice. We can't be experts on everything.
Yes.
And we can't be involved in every single minutiae of the decision. We're talking about interim positions here that we need to fill as a matter of urgency. And I, for one, don't need to see the CVs. I don't need to see the experience. I'm happy to rely on the advice that we've been given. and so should other members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark?
Yeah, along similar lines, really. I mean, we're not acting as a board trying to employ somebody as this board. We are not the interview panel, and I think it would be inappropriate to be in open forum talking about somebody's CV in that way. What I want to know, by way of assurance from the operating officer, is Chief Operating Officer, is that you believe that a correct process has been followed, that appropriate checks and balances have been in place, that the people that we're putting into place are appropriate to do the roles. If you can provide me that assurance, I don't need the detail, because that's you fulfilling your duty in informing us, as to the probity of what we're doing. So as long as you're in a position to say to us, yes, I'm comfortable that everything has been followed and we've appointed the right people following that process, then I'm happy to vote for it.
Thank you, Mark. Right, I'll go over to Lee.
Yeah, so for both positions, we've interviewed candidates for it, a number of candidates for the positions. We've worked with agencies to source appropriately trained and qualified individuals. We've checked the experiences and we've done employment checks on each of those individuals, as you would expect us to do. Both are interim positions with exit clauses, so should the individual not perform, then we're able to remove them from the organisation quickly. But I'm satisfied that both have got the skills and experience to perform in the roles.
Thank you. Craig?
Thank you. Just echoing the point that's been made, this is the proposed appointments, reading from the report, would commence immediately and remain in place until permanent recruitment and appointment for these roles takes place. And that's the process that will then have the understanding of CVs and all the process that goes with that for a duly elected committee to deal with that. So fully understanding the situation we're in and support where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're not doing any different to what local authorities do anyway. So I think it's, we're being fair and we're not doing anything different. Alison, thank you.
All would be done in business. It's exactly the same. So.
Exactly. Thank you. Right. You've had you've had 2 times speaking now. I'm going to move it to vote. If you've got any further questions, please email our Chief Operating Officer, and I'm sure that he can address any further concerns you've got. Right. Right. You want to provide an oversight now? Okay, right. I personally think that, look, we legally need these positions. Happy if you want to speak to Ashley at the end, but I propose we move to vote. Right.
Seconded.
Thank you. So, right, all those in favour? Yeah. Maybe, I thought you was voting twice. You're suddenly invisible, Rob, yeah. Right, those against? 1 against. Any abstentions? No. And in favour and 1 against. So that's the end of the meeting. I'd like to first of all thank the Combined Authority team for all their hard work. It's certainly been a journey the last 6 months, hasn't it? But it can only get easy as we get people on board with expertise to take things forward at pace. I'd like to thank the chairman of our committees, Alison and Andy, who's here today, and all those businesses and members who engage on these committees. And I'd like to thank councillors too. So I wish you all a wonderful Christmas, and we'll be back in January.